My name is Jerome Ferry, along with cameraman Alan Eggers, are doing an interview with Don Hanson, whose folks and family had a warm friendship with Grant Wood, the well-known Cedar Rapids artist. Don, when and where were you born?
I was born here in Cedar Rapids on November the 13th, 1917.
What was your folks' name?
My dad's name was Paul Craver Hanson, and my mother's name was Vida Hanson.
And where did they live?
They lived at originally someplace around 6th Street and about B Avenue. I believe at that time they were acquainted with Grant Wood and his mother, who lived in that same area. And then later they both bought land on Grove Court, and we lived next door, and my dad and mother assisted Grant and his mother in building their house, as well as him helping my folks build theirs.
How would Grant have been about the same age as your dad?
I believe so, yes.
Would they have gone to school together then?
I don't think so. I'm not sure about that, because I'd never have heard, but later on I found out that where they had lived and gone to the church and Central Park Presbyterian Church and so on.
Born in 1891, so he would have had about 25 years on you.
Yes, yeah. My dad was born about the same time.
Can you remember this painting, Don?
No, I was 4 years old, I believe, at the time, but I remember the painting well. And
Title of it?
I often saw it on the corner of 3rd Avenue and 3rd Street in downtown Cedar Rapids. To appear naked on the corner like that was something for a young kid to remember. I remember the painting well.
In other words, the naked little boy, and there's you.
That's right. That's me.
Do you have any idea who these people are?
Yes.
Don?
My
like this
folks,
gentleman.
That's Mr. C.W. Novell, a neighbor, and he was took the part of a farmer.
And this lady here?
The redhead lady is Nan Wood Graham, who is Grant's sister.
Okay. And the lady here?
The lady is standing in back of the throne is my mother, Mrs. Paul Hanson, and she represents religion.
And
the lady holding the home in the air is Mrs. Ralph Conybeare, and she was Grant Wood's cousin. And the naked kid...
Is this here with your bare butt sticking out?
That's me without any clothes on. Donald G. Hanson. I represent education.
And this gentleman?
And the next one is George Holmes. He represents a miller. In those days, that's where a bag of feed or something, so on.
In the gentleman back here with the engineering device?
That's my dad, Paul C. Hanson. He represents a civil engineer. The next man is C.L. Holmes. Oh, excuse me, C.L. Charles. He's the foundry man. And next is C.W. Novell, a carpenter. And Mr. Novell appears also the second time in the painting. He represented the farmer clear to the left and the carpenter off to the right.
Who's the gentleman sitting in the wheelbarrow?
That is Mr. William Funke, F-U-N-K-E. He represents labor. And then the last one clear to the right is Francis Novell, Winged Spirit of Commerce. Yes.
Do you remember what he titled this particular painting?
I think of the Adoration, two titles that I remember, Adoration of the Home, and other people called it The Founding of the City.
Now, all of these people in this painting, these are people acquainted to Grant Wood in the neighborhood?
And I remember most of them as I grew up because they remained in that neighborhood, yes.
You were telling me when he painted this, it was a long mural, Yes. And they had kind of a celebration.
They had a celebration afterwards, and they had Japanese lanterns hanging from the big oak tree, and someone played the violin for entertainment. Really a swinging operation.
How large was this painting?
I think it was probably about 20 inches long by about 12 inches high. And in its original state, it was much longer, and that's where there was some of it missing. The painting, as I remembered it, originally was on the corner of 3rd Avenue and 3rd Street for the Ely Real Estate Company. And the Ely Real Estate Company was a very small white cottage with blue trim, and it faced the intersection. And the sidewalk coming out to the corner diagonally came out to the sidewalk, the normal position. And this painting was made for that short chunk of sidewalk to the front door of the real estate company. And it had, as I recall, some lights on it and a glass of it. And later on, it was the company was out or went out of business or something, and it was removed, and the painting was lost for a good many years, and finally it was found and displayed at the original art museum on 3rd Avenue and about 5th Street, I believe it was.
Did it still have the ends out there?
No. About 1950, I wanted to renew my vision of this painting, and I went down there to look at it, and they told me where it was, and I couldn't find it on the 3rd or 4th floor, and I came back down, and I asked the gal, the receptionist, where it was, and she told me where it was, and I went back up, and I saw it, but I asked her where the rest of the painting was, and she said that was all there was, and a man in an office came out asking if there was a problem, and I said, I just wondered where the rest of the painting was, and he said that's all there was to it, and I said, no, that there is more to it than that someplace, and I told them I would go home and get some 8x10 photographs that you could lay out on a table and put the whole thing together. The pictures that my father, who was a photographer, he made them, and I proved that there was some written material at each end of the painting.
Mm-hmm. You were telling me about Grant and Nan and his mother lived in kind of a little shed out back because of economic situations when they...
Well, no, correction there.
Okay.
He lived in the house that they built, and he had some clever ideas that I might mention. One was a low part in his yard in the back was, and during wet weather, it was difficult to go to the outhouse, and so he built a small bridge that was clever, representing kind of a Japanese or Chinese style bridge. And then he got carried away and he took a board, I would say 18 inches long, and with a coping saw, similar to a jigsaw, he sawed out a bare foot, and with the toes and all, and then with a piece of sheet metal, tin, maybe I would say 6 inches wide, and he would weave that in and out of the toes of this, and he made a double-sided cookie cutter of it, and he pour concrete in one side, and then tip it over and pour concrete in the other side, and when it would set up, he put these footprints, big bare footprints, as walking stones, stepping stones, out to the outhouse and back. Quite interesting.